Okay, don't forget in the drop folder you have opportunity to see this diagram along with what you see here. It's a way for you to be able to practice. What we mean by that is there's this diagram and then it says blank vessels. It just means you have the opportunity to match up what is on the diagram with the names with this type of diagram. Okay, so what is everything you can tell me about this structure? It's got 4 chambers.
2 ventricles.
2 atria on top, 2 ventricles on the bottom. Okay? You have this aortic arch up top here. That's right. So when you see this on this model, you're comparing that to what you see here. Now, the proportion of this probably is not accurate on here, and maybe it's not on here. I'm not really sure of. But coming out of, I would expect you to know this. There's 2 types of circuits. Okay? There's one where blood is coming back from the rest of the body. Okay? And it is, if you want to say poor in oxygen or oxygen poor, what makes the most sense to you? Okay? So it's poor in oxygen. So if that needs to be exchanged, where would that be? And how does it get there? I'm sure we know what that is if whatever we're doing there is more important than what we're doing up here. Is that accurate? No? Oh, it's not the lungs. Well, then where does it go then?
Probably liver. Probably the heart.
Oh, gas exchange is going to take place in the liver?
No.
Okay.
Now we're just getting up to
Mm-hmm.
We're just messing with them.
Okay.
The brain.
I think it's the
I would love to proceed when we are done giving answers that are totally accurate. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to think that maybe I'm funny, but it compares nothing to what you gentlemen are saying. Man, don't even hold a candle to you individuals. Okay?
I think he had us beat there, Mr. McKenna.
All right. Okay? So if this is oxygen poor blood, what vessel is this coming out of here and in what chamber? This sends blood. It does not receive blood. Receivers are your atria. The senders are your ventricles. So if this is oxygen poor blood coming from the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, it's leaving this right ventricle through this vessel right here. So for those of you, are we done? Okay. So when it leaves this structure, okay, this is a blue artery or a blue vein.
Artery.
And it has to be an artery because it's going away from the heart. So once it does that, this is your pulmonary artery. Okay? Now, we call this the pulmonary trunk because it goes in 2 different directions. Okay? And that's something that you would have to look at and see on page 995. And that was written here before we worked with the freshmen. But regardless, you have a right pulmonary artery here, and you have a left pulmonary artery here, because it has to go to each side of the lungs. Yes?
What's the biggest vein in your body called?
Vena cava.
Where's that?
Okay? Where is it on here? Right here? Like we just said 2 minutes ago?
I never heard the word.
Okay? And then how does blood get back to the heart? Okay, and are these arteries then, or are these veins because they're red in structure? Yeah, they're veins. Even though they're red, okay, they are veins because it's bringing blood back to the heart. So what that means then is, I think maybe we should perhaps write some of this stuff down to help us out. Okay. We have a left and right atria. You have a left and right ventricle. Okay, so then you have what we call a pulmonary circuit. And then a systemic circuit. Okay? So, which ones of these receive blood? Which one of these send blood? The ventricles send the blood. These receive blood. So, in this structure, this is where we're at, the right ventricle. Okay? That's where blood is leaving this. Now, okay? It's a little tricky for yourself, so we'll turn it around this way so it's orienting you, because when you look at a mirror image, okay, just like this is, of course, we said this before, I know this is the right side, but you're looking to the left side of the room, you got to point that way, and then the right side of the room is this way. Okay, so this is leaving the right ventricle, and this was called what artery? No, that's over here. No, this is the pulmonary artery, because some of you have taken exams to be lifeguards, correct? Or is that next year? Okay, so in order to be certified, you have to know this life-saving process. Okay, the C is cardio. What do you suppose that is for? The heart. The P is pulmonary. What do you suppose that means?
That means your vein, like your pulmonary.
That means your lungs. And then the resuscitation is just the process of both of them put together. So pulmonary means lungs, so that's why this gets the name pulmonary artery, because it's going to the lungs. It just doesn't state for sure. It has a pulmonary trunk with a right pulmonary artery and a left pulmonary artery. Now, gas exchange takes place in the lungs. It has to come back in this side, which is the left pulmonary vein. It's red in color. This is the right pulmonary vein. That's also red in color. Now we're going to send that blood to the rest of the body, which is going to leave which structure now? The only one that's left, because you correctly said these do what with blood? Receive it or send it? So if this sends it to the lungs, this will send it to the rest of the body. Make sense? We're not going into each and every structure that anatomy and physiology would do. We're just doing a basic overview. Make sense? Okay. And then, so we'll go ahead and start compiling a list here. And again, you have this same opportunity in your drop folder. This structure right here is what you see, what's this specifically called? The aortic arch. Do we need to write these down? Okay. Then, okay, what has to happen is, in it's just the way the man upstairs designed us, okay? You have this vessel here Notice you don't have anything like that on the left side. It's only on the right. That is called the brachiocephalic trunk. Okay? And that is this vessel right here. Okay? That is your brachiocephalic trunk. Then that sends blood to the brain on the right side. Does anyone happen to know what that is? It starts with a C. It's the common carotid artery, the right common carotid. Then what happens is these names change after you receive or go past a tributary. So this is the brachiocephalic trunk from between the thumbs, because now it's the right common carotid. Now it changes into what we call the right subclavian. Okay? Then after the next tributary that we see right here, we're getting into the armpit area. That is the right axillary artery. Okay? And then once we get past there, here's two more tributaries that branch off. This is the brachial artery. Okay? And that's as far as we'll go going into the arms. Okay? You have the brachiocephalic trunk, right common carotid, the subclavian artery, the right subclavian. What's the next one? Starts with an A. Mm-hmm. Aorta is way back here. This one right here. This is your axillary artery. Then after your next set of tributaries, the next one starts with a B. Is it brachiocephalic? No. Just your brachial artery, okay? And then, like I said, we won't go any further than that. I mean, you could, but say we got a deep brachial artery, which is right here in your radial and ulnar arteries, but we're just going to stop here. We have to have a hard line on where to stop, okay? We can only put so much content information in there. Okay. So then what's on the left side? Why don't you just shut that? Now we don't have the temptation of that. Okay? So if this is the right common carotid, this one must be the what? Left common carotid. Okay? Now, this is not a trunk here. Okay? That's only the brachiocephalic trunk here. The next split right here, if this is the right subclavian, this one must be the what? Left subclavian. Then that goes down after this tributary to this artery here that starts with an A, just like it was over here. Axillary artery. The left axillary artery, the right axillary artery. Then as that goes down, it splits one more time, and that's this vessel right here, brachial artery. For those of you who will take anatomy and physiology, of course, we go a little further. And some of these are named after not just the muscular structure, but also the bone structure, because you have a brachialis muscle in this vicinity, and that's why that's called the brachial artery. Okay. As we go a little further down, we only want you to know this is the abdominal aorta, because this is your abdominal cavity. We want you to know aortic arch, abdominal aorta, and then we have a left iliac artery, a right iliac artery. Now, this is important to visualize and see here. Okay. Notice we have a tributary here and here. So we don't say common iliac going all the way down. This is where your common iliac artery stops. Okay? Because now you have what's called the external iliac, and then what bone is in this area? Okay? So what artery do you think that might be? Femoral artery. Okay? So we have a left common iliac, a right common iliac. Then what is this called? It's on the outside. external what though?
Oblique.
No. Say that again. External iliac artery. Once it gets past here. Then the last one you need to know in this vicinity is what? Femoral artery, because there's a tributary here. There's deep femoral arteries in there, but we don't need to know that at this level. Okay? Make sense? And one aspect about it is when you name an artery that's further away from the heart, it's going to have the same name as it's traveling back to the heart. So what we mean by that, it'll just be a vein. For the most part, that's not always the case. I think that's probably big enough. Okay? Because if these were red, these would be an artery, an external iliac or a common iliac. The common iliac vein here. Okay? So then once those fuse together, coming back to the heart, okay? The only thing this is named is because it's below the heart, okay? And that's what this little diagram, I clipped it off of this one, but it's still on here, okay? This means left, of course, and right, but this means superior and inferior. That's what those initials mean. So in this case, as blood is coming back to the heart from underneath it, what does it mean to be further down? Superior or inferior? It's inferior. And this is coming back to the heart. That is this structure right here. What is it that returns blood back to the heart? It's got a specific name. It does start with a V. It's a specific vein. Just like you don't say this being an artery here, it's got a specific artery name. This also has a specific vein name. It starts with a V. It's not vein though. Something cava. Someone said it. Yeah. So that means this is this inferior vena cava, which is right here, which must mean this is the what then? Superior vena cava. Okay? Then, if this was and arteries and veins are just a little bit different. This is a brachiocephalic, this is a brachiocephalic, but they're not arteries. Those are what? Veins. Like I said, they follow a similar path, but they're not identical in names. Okay? Because if blood is going up to the brain in an artery, we would call this the what? Starts with a C. Possibly remember? Carotid artery. But these are veins, so this is draining back down, and what we would see, that is one of these. Oh, nope, sorry, this is your left brachiocephalic vein and right brachiocephalic vein. But you ever heard of a jugular before? That's these right here. These are jugular veins. Okay? The larger one is the internal carotid artery, internal jugular vein. The outside one is the external jugular vein. The one on the inside is internal, the one on the outside is external. Okay? Because what happens is as the human head twists, these also twist around as well. Okay? That can be tricky because if the arm is out like this, okay, what is the bone that's on the outside?
That's your ulna right there.
That's the radius. But what happens if you pronate that and you see it in a diagram and it's asking for this one now? That's still the radius, even though it's on the inside. because that's why it's called the radius, is because it moves around in a circle around the ulna. Okay? So these veins and arteries can do the same thing. They will twist and turn around here. Otherwise, if they did not do that, they could possibly break. That's just the way that we're designed. Okay? I think that's enough for today. So you have that opportunity to go back to the drop folder and look to see what we missed. Or not really what we missed, what possibly you would miss. Because this just says blank vessels. Here you have the blood vessels right here. That would say everything that we had just talked about.
So on your exam, you have to know all of them?
Repeat that, please, on your exam. What?
You have to know all of them.
Oh, gosh, no. All of these?
Are you going to write a list on what we didn't know?
We asked that, and we said, no, we're fine. Okay? All right. So again, I think that is good enough for today. Don't wait until the weekend. Okay? Wait till the weekend to listen to the weekend. Okay? I wouldn't, but okay? So, any questions? This is semi-detailed. It's not as detailed as an upper level class. Okay? It's just an introduction to it. You might think, it seems like it's an upper level to us. Okay? Well, the only reason you might not have a great understanding of it yet is because you haven't spent enough time on it. Anything else? No. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen are gone all day tomorrow, correct? For track? Okay. So that leaves us another opportunity. We will record this tomorrow. Okay. Thursday, Friday, and then I would say wrap things up by Monday because that's your last chance. Makes sense. Front row. Nodding our head, we're on the bus here. Second row's on the bus. Third row's on the bus. All right. We comfy? All right. All right. So we'll catch up to you next time.